The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, Wells Fargo Championship from Quail Hollow, DraftKings picks and preview. If you want to play in the Pat Mayo Experience DraftKings Open, rake free, $15 to enter, 3 max entry, over $52,000 guaranteed in the prize pool this week. Hit the description of this video or podcast, and you can find the link to enter the Pat Mayo Experience Listeners League, because you are a listener or a viewer, I suppose. And you can get that link. Don't share it around. But we do need to fill this so we can have Boku bucks on the line for the PGA Championship in 2 weeks. The faster we fill it, the more entries we'll get. We're hoping, like the Masters, to have $100,000 guaranteed to the listeners and viewers of the show. So let's fill that up right away. Don't wait until Wednesday night and I'm here stressing out, having to tweet out hey, please sign up. I don't want to have to do that. I want the Listeners League to be fun for everyone. It just fills up on its own. Anyway, if you want to get into a draw for 20 DK bucks, there are 2 ways to do that this week. 1, rate, review, subscribe to the audio podcast, 5-star review, something nice, DraftKings handle, boom, you're in the draw. The second way to do it, smash the like button of the video, leave your DraftKings handle in the comments section, and tell me your 2 favorite plays from the $6,000 area this week at Quail Hollow. And all the stats and information are provided by FantasyNational.com. If you get in on FantasyNational.com right now, even with a monthly, you get yourself through the PGA Championship, get yourself acclimated to how the entire system works. It's pretty easy, so it'll take 2 minutes, but it's better off using the lineup generator once for this week and then once for next week. Then you can tweak it to any way you want. Plus, there's so much information, so many tools on the site that you can just play around to see what fits you best. No proper way to use it, just whatever works. Maybe you can figure that out. Geoff Ulrich from DK Live joining me on the show to break everything down. What's going on, my man?
Not too much. Just looking at the bottom of this field, Pat, and it's pretty ugly. Under 7K, I'm not going to lie this week.
Well, that's why I wanted to throw it out there to the people. So maybe they have some good ideas below 7,000, because I really don't.
I don't either. I mean, I got a couple ideas we'll talk about, but, they're ugly. And when you first hear the names, you're not going to want to play them. So that's the kind of week it is, though. Heavy at the top, weak at the bottom, I guess. So.
Does it feel like the pricing is a bit tighter this week, just especially in that 7K to upper 6K, some of the guys that you would normally use at, I don't know, 6,400 or 7,000 this week?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. You're not getting price breaks on a lot of players, especially guys that we want to play. I mean, there's a couple value plays, it looks like, in the 7K range, but I mean, these aren't stud players I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about a guy like maybe Streelman or Dahmen. I mean, I think they're good value. I don't think they're great value or anything, but otherwise, yeah, you're not getting price breaks. I mean, you got Webb up in the 9Ks, and I don't know. Yeah, I agree. I think it's tighter pricing, and again, they're making you take chances with guys you don't really want to this week under 7K. So.
All right, let's talk Quail Hollow, one of the longest courses on tour, one of the most difficult courses on tour. They switched the greens over to Bermuda in 2014. They not completely renovated the course, but they adjusted some of the holes, lengthened them, turned some par 3s into a par 4, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. 2 years ago, before the 2017 PGA Championship. So this is new Quail Hollow that we're looking at. Since we've played this twice, we've had Justin Thomas win the PGA Championship. Jason Day won this event last year in the typical settings, and I thought it would actually play a bit easier than it did for the PGA Championship, but that was not the case. A year ago, it was the 5th of 51 courses in terms of difficulty, and that includes the majors. So this basically played up to close to U.S. Open style difficulty a year ago. So you have to kind of anticipate that going in. So maybe factor on some guys that play hard course as well, guys that are really good around the green, maybe guys that you're not afraid are going to make a 10-foot putt or two. Although this is a course, Geoff, where putts are missed a lot, especially from in close.
It's a couple factors. I mean, you mentioned the renos. It was a really big reno. I mean, they built a new hole. They blew out holes. They moved tee boxes everywhere. So, looking back before 2017, you got to take the results with a bit of a grain of salt. And you mentioned the missed putts. I mean, these are brand new greens, and they've played really firm the first 2 years. Like last year, I remember guys bouncing the ball 40 feet in front of the hole, and they'd run through the greens. So we're getting hot weather this week again. I kind of expect similar kind of thing. And this is a long course too. I mean, it's a par 71 that plays over 7,500 yards. That's long even for PGA standards. So you mentioned guys making 10 foots. Length off the tee is something you got to look at. The top 7 finishers last year all averaged over 300 yards off the tee for the season. So length off the tee, definitely something I'm looking at for this course.
Well, it's funny. I can filter. If I go to fantasynational.com right now, I actually haven't done this yet. So let's figure it out. Let's sort by over 7,400 yards in terms of courses. And we'll set hitting fairways. Just put in scoring relative to par difficult and just see what that spits out. And we'll look at tee to green and who pops up at the top. Who do you think pops up at the top under those circumstances?
Over 7,400 yards.
Over 7,400 yards and scoring difficult.
Oh, boy, off the top of my head.
It's pretty easy.
Rory?
Yeah, it's Rory. It's Rory by a lot. It's Rory, Day, Hideki, Keegan, Henrik Stenson, Fowler, JB, Casey, Zach Johnson, surprisingly, even though he's a shorter hitter, Gary Woodland, Lucas Glover, Justin Rose, Patrick Reed, Byung-Hun and Luke List. Oh, that sounds like fun. Sounds like all the losers I play every week and they miss the cut.
I was going to say Finau, so, I mean, he's not even on the list.
Finau was actually right behind Luke List. Then it's like Bud Cauley, Sergio, Killa Keith. And it's funny, like, maybe it's including, like, I guess he would have 8 rounds to compare with this at Quail Hollow. But Roberto Castro's next, who has, like, an excellent course history here.
Yeah, he does have an excellent course history. I mean, lost in a playoff in 2016. I don't know. I mean, when he's ball striking, I mean, he can definitely take advantage of these longer courses because he does hit a lot of fairways and his long irons are good. But man, I mean, his last round of Valspar wasn't very encouraging. So I don't know. He might be a little bit over chalk this week for DraftKings. We'll have to see, when we get more ownership stuff later in the week. But yeah, Castro's played well here. I can't deny that.
So when I went back and I looked at the modeling that I used for this course last year, and I always make notes next to the save models that I have for each course, and the one that came up with Quail Hollow just said needs fixing next to it. So I went and completely revamped what I was looking at. I put more of an emphasis on driving distance. I put more of an emphasis on strokes gained around the green after just watching Aaron Wise, Bryson, and Jason Day, like how they navigated around this course. Of course, they were making putts. That was very clear. But in the circumstances where they needed to save par, I remember Aaron Wise on like the last hole just made such an awesome up and down to make par and end up in a T2 situation behind Jason Day. Like, you need to be good around the greens here. And I do think that there is an element of not necessarily course history, but course familiarity. Like, I feel like that's how Webb Simpson, even when he was a poor putter, did well at this course every year. It's almost like heritage in a way. It's like an extended heritage because it's so much longer. It's like 500 yards longer, but you want to miss on the right side of the hole to give yourself an actual angle on your second shot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Webb's like basically a local resident here too. I mean, he's played this course a lot, I think. So that's definitely part of it. But you're right. I mean, again, come back just to some of the trends here. All the winners over the past 7 years have recorded a top 10 at this venue before they won. So gives you an idea. I mean, it's probably not a great spot for a first timer to get their first win. Doesn't mean you can't play them for DraftKings, right? But having some kind of course history is a positive this week for sure, especially if you're betting outrights. I mean, I would look a little bit more at guys who have played this at least a couple times. Although maybe, with the Renos and stuff, maybe it's not as big a deal as I'm making it out to be, but it's something to be aware of. Course history is factored into, especially for the outrights over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, the only guys that kind of pop up, like Rory won here in his first shot back in 2010. Fowler got his first win here. And then like Derek Ernst won out of nowhere. Yeah. If you want to talk about like super bomber, that guy is a super bomber.
Well, and that year was really messed up because they're basically playing on like not like temporary greens. Like the greens were just messed up that year beyond belief. So it was a really weird event. And he beat David Lynn in a playoff. I don't even know. I think David Lynn like retired. So even going back to Fowler, like Fowler had top 10 here the year before that. So, I mean, it was his first win, but he had actually played here a couple times. So yeah, I mean, I personally just crossed the Derek Ernst. He is a bomber though, you're right, but I'd still cross him off the list because it was just a really weird year. They completely changed the greens after that win.
So based on what you've said, Luke List is going to win.
I like Luke List this week. I'm not just trying to suck up to you, right? But I do like him. I mean, you got to look at factors like, I mean, just ball striking and guys who can get it out there and then also have some kind of semblance of a game around the green. And I mean, when List is on, he's not a bad scrambler. Yeah, he's got to sink the 5-footers this week, but so does everyone who's got to have a chance. So I don't really think you should just cross him off. And I think at 8K too, I mean, he's not overly expensive. And you just look at that range. I think a lot of guys have been playing Benny Ann. Obviously, Charles Howell's up there. Johnny Vegas is in good form. I think List will be kind of underowned in that range. So I'm pretty bullish on Luke List this week.
Yeah, I mean, that always ends up in him firing like 7 over. after like the first 5 holes. It's like, oh boy.
Well, no, he'll be 5 under, and then he'll start missing putts, and he'll finish like T50.
That's even more devastating. I don't need that. Can't he shoot like 3 under every day and we'll be good to go?
That would be good. He'd probably win if he did that. So.
He would. So that's definitely not going to happen. He's probably going to miss the cut. I do think that he ends up shaking out to be one of the chalkier guys. But I added more driving distance, like I mentioned, around the green. And there are 7 holes that are super difficult that are between 450 and 500 yards, these par 4s, these super long par 4s. I actually took that out of the modeling because I feel like a lot of those are very random at times where they're so hard that you have to rely on other factors. So I have like proximity from beyond 200 yards, proximity 175 to 200 kind of weighted equally in here. So that kind of makes up for distant shots on those holes, and around the green can help you scramble out of them. The one that I added in that when I started thinking about it, I think can really go a long way to actually help scoring. Like you can score on the par 5s here, and there are 2 par 4s, short par 4s, that are basically drivable, that you can make eagles on, you can make easy birdies on. You have to if you want to survive the green mile and some of these super long par 3s. So I actually added in par 4s gained from 0 yards to 350 yards, because that's the range that they give you. And I feel like that might end up coming in handy in the later run. So I was so off on this tournament last year that I was looking for different ways to, what should I be looking at? When I went back and looked at who scored well on those holes a year ago, it was all the guys at the top of the leaderboard. And driving distance, I think, plays into that too.
No, I agree. I mean, the way the course is set up, you have basically like a couple scoring holes, because not even the par 5s aren't necessarily even scoring holes here. There's maybe one easy one, I think. I think the other 2 actually play quite difficult, but there are the 2 drivable par 4s, which, like you said, you absolutely have to take advantage of. So the guys who play those holes well generally will get a little bit of a bump. I mean, you have to birdie those holes when you have the chance. So I don't think that's a bad plan. Again, it does come down to sometimes, again, guys who can get it out there off the tee and then scramble well for the week are going to do well in those holes overall too. So, but it's definitely a good metric to look at, because I mean, I was looking at between 400 and 500 yards, but I agree. I mean, there's so many of those holes this week that, it's just everyone's got to play them, right? So I think looking at that metric, definitely an idea. You got to be under par on those 2 drivable par 4s this week. It's a must.
So the top 15 in that metric this week, Phil and Ricky are 1 and 2. Scott Stallings, Bill Haas somehow, Gary Woodland, Bud Colley, Jonathan Bird, Vaughn Taylor, Cameron Tringali, Sam Burns, Robert Streb, Mr. Course History here, even when he's awful, always makes the cut, Robert Streb, Nate Lashley, Ben Ann, Pat Perez, Carlos Ortiz, and Danny Lee. So maybe if you're looking for sleepers, that's a way to say, hey, these guys are at least going to make 2 birdies there. If they can just hold on for the rest of the time, maybe they'll be okay. But let's jump to the very top of the pricing. It's Rory, and then it's everyone else. He's $11,800. Jason Day is the next closest, $800 cheaper at $11,000. Ricky's 10.6, Rose is 10.3, Hideki is 10.1, and that'll do it for the top 5 above $10,000. Is it just load up on Rory and just assume that he goes out and smashes, or is it completely fade Rory, knowing that everyone else is going to take him and maybe Justin Rose is the guy to take?
I'm probably leaning more towards the fade Rory, and it's a couple factors. Again, I mean, this isn't the course that Rory dominated, 2009, 2015. It's almost a completely different venue, and I know there's a lot of factors that remain the same. Obviously, the fairways and the rough and the grass and stuff, but I don't know. I don't see this as a venue where you necessarily just want to go on the top. And you also have to factor in, this is just a regular event. I mean, Rory's most likely got his eyes set on the PGA in a couple weeks. And I don't know. I mean, 11.8 is a lot. It's not like we're getting an easy to fit in Rory McIlroy here. You mentioned the tighter pricing. You're really going to have to dip down in value if you take Rory. Like, you're going to be loading up on guys like Dahmen and Streelman in that range. And it's not like they're not good plays, but I want to take advantage of some of these other guys this week, because I think this is a regular tour stop, and I think some of these guys are due for real big bounce backs, like Justin Rose, who probably should have won this event back in 2016, had the lead going into the back nine, and then somehow lost to Castro and James Hahn. But I like bounce backs for a lot of these guys who are a lot cheaper than Rory, and I think it's an okay week to fade him personally.
So you have Rory. What about Day and Fowler? Do you think they'll end up making your teams? Because I can see myself starting with Justin Rose if that's going to be the high point for me.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm going to. I mean, look, this is a really good venue for Jason Day, and I don't want to rule out him just coming in here and getting his one token win on the year, because He does well at the Farmers, Torrey Pines. It's a U.S. Open venue. He does well at Wells Fargo, basically another major championship venue. Like, this is perfect for him. He can bomb it out there on the par fours. He can save birdie on the the drivable par fours. He can make some birdies on the par five, and then he can just save par everywhere else. So it wouldn't shock me. At the same time, it's $11K to pay for Jason Day, who's basically he can't even run, like, with his back issues right now. I mean, you're just taking your life in your own hands here. There's just a big chance of a bust, in my opinion. Yes, the boom factor's there. So he's more of a guy just try and slide in a couple lineups if I was making like 50 this week and not worry about it. But I'm not going to make a case for him as like a core player or anything this week.
Well, the difficult part is, and you kind of hit on it with Rory, where if you take Rory, filling out the rest of your team becomes kind of dicey with no like legit good options. Most weeks you can find a guy at 7,200 and be like, yeah, that guy's fine. I'll play him. It doesn't always work out, but you have a modicum of confidence about it, even if you are completely wrong and the guy is plus 20 after 2 rounds. But this week, like, it's like I'm looking down in that 7,200 range right now. I'm like, oh yeah, Sam Burns, he's not bad. That can't turn out well.
And the other thing is, like, Sam Burns is now going to be chalky, right? Because there's not that many other options. I mean, Sam Burns hits it far. He's coming in with a good record, but do you really want to play like super chalked Sam Burns? I mean, and then what? You got to pivot off him to what, Danny Lee or something? I don't know. So it's a rough week. I mean, if you want to stack up on Rory, I don't think it's like the worst play, because obviously Rory or Day could still come in here and completely win and just be the highest fantasy score. But I think with the way the course sets up now, you're looking at a tighter tournament, more major championship style, and I think that just lends itself to going a bit more balanced here.
After Rose, do you actually think there will be any residual, like, I hate Justin Rose after the Masters?
Oh, yeah. I think people start finding ways not to play him. I think people will be like, oh, he's using those Hanma irons or whatever, and making reasons not to play him and just play, people just play Hideki or go up to Rory. I don't think he's going to be like, under 5%, but I think he's going to be less than he should be. I think people will definitely be a little bit wary. And again, I don't think people realize, but I mean, he's done well at this venue. He hasn't played here a lot, but when he did play here the last time, I think it was in 2016, or maybe that wasn't the last time, but he's been in a position to win at Quail Hollow before. So I'm actually looking at him as pretty strong play this week.
Okay, so Rose is my favorite of these top 5 guys too, when we consider the price of everyone. Who would be your second favorite? Would you go up to Ricky or down to Hideki?
I just go down to Hideki. I mean, again, Hideki's been killing it off the tee. He's picked up some distance this year, it seems like, off the tee, which is really good for his fortunes here. And I mean, he was in the mix of the 2017 PGA Championship, and he's kind of found that similar form again. Obviously, he's got to scramble well this week, but he's played pretty well here the last 2 times after the renovations, and I like that. I like a bit of a tougher course for Hideki anyways. So I think those, just value-wise, I just go to those 2 guys. I don't think Ricky would probably be third for me, just because, again, I can't trust Day and I don't want to pay all the way up for Rory. But Hideki would definitely be my number 2.
Okay, so in the $9,000 level, Paul Casey's sitting there. I actually ended up, after Jeff and I talked yesterday, Feinberg that is, not you, because I mean, I think you would remember us talking yesterday, and somehow I landed on your guy. I found him at 25-1, so I bet Paul Casey.
I feel like this is kind of what Paul Casey's the next couple of years is going to be like. He's probably going to let a lot of people down in the majors, and then he's going to come and win more of these events. Because, again, and also if you're looking at corollary courses this week, I should throw this out there now, but the Valspar is like the perfect corollary for this.
I would say it's Riviera, like, just because of the distance and the shot shape off the tee. We've seen crossover winners.
And no, but you've seen crossover winners with Valspar too, and maybe Riviera. I haven't looked at Riviera as much, but there's a lot of crossover. I mean, you got multiple winners. You got guys who finished up high. Woodland's got a top 5 here, and he's won Valspar. O'Hare's won both. Lucas Glover's won and finished high. Anyways, I could keep going on. Casey's another guy though. I mean, top 5 here last year, and he's won the Valspar twice. They're both long par 71s. It's a good bounce back spot for Paul Casey. It's not the pressure of the major. I agree. I mean, I know it's going to be hard to click on Paul Casey over Tony Finau this week, but I kind of feel like it's probably the right play.
I kind of think so too, and that terrifies me.
It's hard to do because, I mean, Finau's coming off the top 10 at Augusta. He's got the length off the tee you want, but I mean, it's not like Casey is hitting at 280 or something either, and he played well here last year. He's just got a tighter game right now, I think, than Finau, but we'll see. I mean, it's a good spot for a bounce back, like I said, the nod major, and he's probably a little bit embarrassed about shooting like 80 in round 1 too, when people were like picking him to win. So
I suppose that's true. So if we go down the list, Sergio actually kicks off this range at $9,900. Then it's Webb, then it's Casey, then it's Finau. Then you have Phil and Woodland at the very bottom here at 91 and 92. I actually like both those guys. For whatever reason, Phil just plays well at this course every single year. It's one of his courses.
He's like legit done everything but win at this course. I
Yeah.
mean, he's top 5 here a numerous amount of times, like last year as well on the new course. So you can't even bring in the fact the Renos might hurt him. I mean, he played well here last year too. I agree. I mean, he's got the swing. Look, Phil is 18th in driving distance this year too. I mean, he's really firing with this like swing speed, whatever. Like he's focused on distance and just bombing it out there for as long as possible. So you don't really have to worry about that with Phil, which I like. And I absolutely love Gary Woodland this week. He's my only bet so far. I think it was like 28 to 1. I like the spot for Woodland a lot. I mean, again, another guy who's played well at the Valspar. He's just been cruising along, tee to green. He's still up there. He's like 9th in driving distance. All the metrics you want, like par 4, par 5 scoring. He's top 10. It's just he's just got to have a good week around the greens, and it's very possible with him for him to do that. He only needs to do it for 1 week, right? So again, non-pressure of a major, 9,000 for Gary Woodland. I really like the spot for him.
Yeah, I think I actually like Phil a little bit more than Gary Woodland. It just is a just straight up DraftKings play, solely because I don't think a lot of people are going to take him. And with Finau sort of the lurking one right there. Like I'm going to feel like a moron when Finau wins. Like this is I'll have said it all week. Like it's a breakthrough spot for he wouldn't be a first time winner, but he's never won like a real event before. He's won an alternate event. Well, the other good players were playing off somewhere else, and we've seen him top 10 so often that. Do you just say, you know what? Finau's not the highest price guy. He's like the 10th highest price guy. If he does come inside the top 10, just do it. Knowing that if he finishes like T7, he'll probably be like 3rd in DraftKings scoring.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not like, again, I say Casey might be a better play, but that's probably just from an ownership / I think he's got a bit of a better chance to win the event than Finau. But yeah, I mean, Finau as a DraftKings play is perfectly fine. It's like you said, he doesn't have to win at that price to pay off. And he birdies so much that he's probably going to find his way into the top 10 scores, even if he finishes like T15, right? So, no, it's a great, I mean, look, every week is like a potential breakout spot for Finau at this point, and it's been like that for the last year. It's just, again, I mean, at some point he's got to come through for us, right? So, I think the pricing is absolutely fine. I agree with Phil over Woodland for DraftKings purposes in a way. I think Woodland's got a better chance to win outright, but Phil, just the consistency here is ridiculous. So I like all 3 of those guys, though.
Yeah, so do I. The problem is once we go down to the $8,000 range, there's guys I like too. Like Henrik Stenson is at 8,900. He doesn't have the length that you're looking for, but the rest of his game sort of matches what you would want. He's not the best around the greens either. Maybe that's what holds him back. Then you have Reed, hot fire Kokrak come in, who's played well at this course in the past, plays well at Riviera, Sung Jae, Glover, CH3, Ann, Vegas, Aaron Wise, Luke List, Keegan Bradley. Like, if you wanted to start your teams with Paul Casey or Tony Finau and then get access to a lot of these guys, that could be a way to start to build your teams, I think.
Yeah, I feel like the 8K range it's really going to make or break. Like, there's going to be potential landmines here. I mean, I feel like a guy like Kokrak or Im or Glover is probably just going to miss the cut. I'm not saying those guys in particular. I'm just saying 1 or 2 of these guys in the 8K range is probably really going to blow up, because we're not talking about elite players here necessarily. They're kind of like above average and they're all playing well, but they're also prone to blow-ups. I mean, we've seen it with Glover. We've seen it with Benny Ann this year. They come in, they shoot like 77 in round 1, and then they miss a cut, but then they bounce back, right? So it's who's going to play well this week. I got to admit, I mean, I'm probably going to go back to Benny Ann this week, even if he is a bit
for
chalky.
sure.
I mean,
Is he going to be chalked, though? People aren't like pissed at him from the Heritage?
I hope they are. I mean, I really do. I hope people, want to play Vegas and Howell and Glover, because I mean, Benny Ann's first in strokes gained around the green. He's actually made big strides in scrambling and just his short game, which is good. And he still bombs it out there. Still great off the tee. I mean, this should be a really good venue for him in the long run. So 8,300, I'll definitely be back on him. I just like the way it sets up in numerous ways. Johnny Vegas is interesting. Doesn't have the greatest course history here. I kind of like going back to Aaron Wise. I mean, just from a talent perspective, again, I feel like this whole range is boom or bust in a little bit of a way. So why not just go with maybe the most talented guy in the range who played well here last year and is coming off like a really, really good Masters, which came out of nowhere. So I think Aaron Wise will be in play for me too, and I don't think he's going to be highly owned.
So the guy that I really like here is Patrick Reed. Patrick Reed plays hard
Really?
courses well. He plays long courses well, despite not being a bomber. You never know really which Patrick Reed that you're going to get. But as I discussed with Feinberg, it's been over a year since he won. The guy, very few people are like due to win, but it would be like if we were in August and Dustin Johnson hadn't won yet, and you're like, Dustin wins every year. He's going to win one of these soon. Reed wins basically every year too, and maybe this isn't the perfect track for him, but it's not like he has poor results here. He even played well in that PGA Championship.
No, Reed is a guy who, like, his stats sometimes don't show how.
It's like Jason Day. Like, his stats don't match up to the upside that you get when he's playing well. It's just you have to factor in that, there's that downside with him too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, he can get it out there on these longer courses. Like he won at Doral. It was his big breakthrough win on. It's basically the longest course on the PGA Tour. I think it was in 2014, and he can get it out there when he needs to. That's basically what I'm saying. And he's got the short game when he's on. So I think as a DraftKings play, I could get behind that because he's going to be low owned. He's struggled with his swing, and there's been some reports he's been struggling with his swing. I guess that scares me a little bit. But as a GPP play, yeah, I think I'd probably prefer him over Stenson for sure. Stenson just does not really ever excelled at this course. It feels like it should be an okay spot for him, but I still feel like he's struggling to come back. So I think I'd probably, if I was going with one of those guys in a GPP for ownership, I'd go with Reed.
Yeah, so Reed's going to be my guy. What do you do with Kokrak, who's just fire coming in? Like, is he a fate? Like, is he even going to be owned? Like, I feel like he's now so up in pricing, and this isn't the Heritage where he's against like a few good guys and like some scrubs. Like, there's really good guys in this tournament that if you're making your choices and you're looking at the screen like, oh, Stenson's there, Woodland's there, even Lucas Glover, who's won here before, or I can find a way to get up to Casey or Finau or one of those guys. Am I really going to take Jason Kokrak?
Oh, yeah, he's going to be a straight fade for me, I think. It comes down to price. It comes down to, I think people will still play him just because they feel like, again, it's like FOMO. They got to play Jason Kokrak. The win's coming, right? He didn't really play that well last week at the team event either, which, I mean, it's not a good barometer. We don't even get strokes gained or anything, but I don't know. He's kind of a little bit off, it feels like. He's been playing a lot too. Like, I think this is his 8th or 9th start in like 12 weeks. At some point, this run is going to come to an end. I mean, it's not like he's a terrible player, but 8,700, yeah, we're getting up there in price. You're bypassing a lot of other names to take him. I still feel like he's going to be super chalky. So I'll dip down in the lower 8K range and bypass him.
So for me, it's and list. Obviously, it's me, and that's how I lose my money every week. And Patrick Reed. You like Wise. You don't mind Vegas. Do you go back to Sungjae? I know the distance isn't really there, but he's not like disastrously small off the tee. He's like slightly above average. He can get it out there. And if we've been liking Sungjae all this time, that maybe it's him that we go to?
Should be a good venue. I mean, it's a tougher venue. It's more strokes gained tee to green. I mean, obviously he's like any of these other guys we talk about. He's got to have a decent week scrambling. I guess my worry is it's his first time seeing the venue, and it really hasn't been a great spot for first timers. But actually, maybe this might have been. I think Wise played it for the first time last year, so maybe it's not even a good argument. But yeah, I mean, I'd much rather take a chance with him over Kokrak this week. I mean, I feel like both guys have been quite similar. And if Kokrak's going to be more chalky and people are going to play Howell, I don't mind him. Much the same, I don't mind Wise. I think the talent is there. It's just Wise is cheaper, and he's probably going to be, I think at this point, if I had to guess, he'd be quite a bit lower owned than him. So I don't mind him. He's just a little bit expensive, but definitely for GPPs, if you want to pay up for lower ownership than Kokrak, it's on the table.
All right, so now I'll add Sungjae to my player pool here. He does rate out really well for me, but he's one of these, he's the Ben and Luke List type of player where he just rates out perfectly by all metrics, and then stuff actually happens and it doesn't really turn out that well. So maybe he can overcome this lack of distance. The short game is really good with Sungjae, so maybe I can take that into consideration too. And that's what's getting me off of like the reasons why I think that Kokrak has potentially struggled, why Stenson has struggled a little bit, and why I do worry about Finau to an extent is like they're not good around the green whatsoever. Like they're bad at chipping. They can't get up and down.
No, and that's another reason why Kokrak. I mean, it could be a spot for him to miss the cut, right? So it just again playing a lot, maybe not quite as sharp coming in. It's just such a tough venue. Some of these guys in the 8K range, like I said, are really going to excel, and some of them aren't. So I feel like that's the landmine range. That's why I don't think going with a guy like Patrick Reed is a bad idea, because he's due for a bounce back. He's got the short game, and he can grind on a course like this. Probably isn't going to blow up So I definitely don't mind the Patrick Reed call. And yeah, probably just try. The best thing is avoid the real chalk in the 8K range, and I think you'll be okay this week.
That was the move at Heritage. Just if you had faded
Yeah.
on and in because you knew they were going to be so highly owned. I didn't, so I lost all my money. But
You did that.
that was supposed to be like if you were actually playing real game theory, that was going to be the move. And then I couldn't pull the trigger on it because I'm gutless, Jeff. I'm gutless when it comes to this stuff. I like my guys and I want to play my guys. Keegan Bradley's at 8,000. Like that's
Yeah, I looked at Keegan. He's got a terrible record here too. And again, we're talking about guys with bad short games. Keegan definitely fits the list. I just play Luke List. I mean, I know Luke List isn't much better, but he's been trending in the right direction for me at least. So,
but if we're gonna play the short game angle, then should we be crossing off CH3 or Glover, who are both great around the greens?
No, I don't think you should cross off Glover. I mean, it's just a matter of
why,
do you like him.
Why cross off CH3 though? Because he actually has the distance to compete here, and he was 22nd here last year, so maybe the renovations helped him.
Oh, I don't. You can play both those guys. I just feel like Howell will be chalkier, right? Because he's always gets ownership and people know him and trust him, which is fine. But I feel like the upside with some of these players like a Wise or a Ben Ad might be a little bit better than Glover this week. But no, I mean Glover's fine, especially again we're talking about swerving off a Kokrak. I don't think Glover Howell are necessarily bad play. I'd probably lean Glover if I was choosing between those two, just because he's been really consistent at time this year. He's been a little bit boomer bust, but when he's played well, it's like an auto top 15. So I'd probably go Glover over Howell.
All right, so the next guys down here in the $7,000 range is like ZJ, Kang, JB, Keith Mitchell. Love all those guys. I want to play them all. That becomes the problem here. And like if we get down to like 75, I really like Trey Mullenix this week. I know he has no short game, but he's sort of like discount Kokrak. If everyone's just going to play Kokrak, I'll just play Mullenix and be on my way with it. You like Damon, you said?
I think Damon sets up pretty well. I mean, 16th here last year, solid ball striker. He's not like the biggest guy off the tee, but he's just been playing so solid and his game just looks tight. I mean, I think it sets up well for this week. I don't think he's a guy who necessarily want to take in like a birdie fest either. So I think Damon at 7,600 makes quite a bit of sense. JT Poston played well for a bit. I mean, a good short game might be someone to look at, but is Streelman just going to be the mega chalk here coming off two top sixes? Because it's kind of the vibe I'm getting. I don't know. Maybe I'm way off.
I think you're right, but like I'm going to play Sung Kang for sure. I like his Riviera record. I like actually how he rates out for me. It's really, really good. I'll play Killa Keith. Killa Keith has the distance. He has a win this year. We're back on Bermuda. That's where you always want to play Keith Mitchell. And I think I'm just going to talk myself into JB Holmes as well. Why not?
Maybe it makes, I mean, when you're looking for tournament plays in this range, I mean, I think you kind of got to consider Berger too, but Berger's kind of just been like, even when he plays well, he doesn't play well. So I think with the upside, you just go with JB. I agree. I mean, former winner, obviously distance off the tee. If he gets it going with the short game, which he's fully capable of doing, then could definitely be in for a big week here. So I think JB as a GPP play makes sense because I do feel like it's going to be semi-concentrated around guys like Damon and Streelman and possibly possibly Keith Mitchell, who I definitely don't hate at all. But yeah, I think Holmes is setting up as a pretty good GPP play because I don't really want to. The other thing is there's really not a lot of big hitters in this range. I mean,
those are really the guys. It's Holmes, it's Kang, it's Keith Mitchell, and then like Mullenix and Wyndham Clark are like the next two.
Right, and you got to go down to 75 for Mullenix, and I'm on board with Mullenix. I think it's a good spot for him too. He played well. He was basically carrying that Stallings Mullenix team last week for 3 rounds, and they fell apart in the last round because Stallings started hitting it everywhere, and Mullenix just followed him. But he played well for the first 3 rounds. Like I think he actually shot. He probably would have shot a 64 in like the best ball on one of those days. So Mullenix coming in with some confidence, in my opinion.
And we've seen him go low before, even at courses that some people, like when he went low at Valero like a few years ago, like that can be a really tough course. He shot a 62.
Yeah.
He just happens to blow up once the putting and the short game leaves him. But you don't need him to win here. You just need him to like make the cut, and he's always going to outscore his performance just because he's so long off the tee. He's going to have eagle opportunities. That I like Trey Mullenix. And again, we kind of get back into this conversation where I like all these guys in the low 8s and high 7s. That maybe I just go like legit super balanced, start my teams with Ben Ann and just have like Ann and List and JB Holmes and Keith Mitchell and like those guys, and that's the squad.
You get 6 out of 6 and a bunch of T30s, right?
Well, it's 156 man field. So
That's true.
It's going to be so hard to get 6 of 6 this week. And that becomes the problem when you start putting Rory into these lineups. And like, I don't have the utmost confidence Trey Mullinix is going to make the cut, but if we go like $1,000 lower, where we would need to if we had Rory, like then you got like Hudson Swafford and Brian Harmon. Like, I don't know about that. At least the distance can bail out Trey Mullinix a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean Trey Mullinix has played well for most of the year too, right? So I mean when we get down the 6K range, you're just talking about guys who. Some guys have been missing cuts on like the web.com tour coming in. So it's not exactly a vote of confidence. Obviously, it's a big field. And, we're talking about a third of the field here is pretty weak. So some of these guys are going to pop up. But when you're trying to pick it for fantasy, it's best not to try and guess because you're really basically just throwing darts down there. So
what do you make of Zach Johnson? Because I'm looking at him right now. The only thing that he doesn't really do well is drive the ball, which is we've kind of discussed, not great here. He's 114th off the tee over the past 36 rounds in this field. He's 124th in driving distance, both big red numbers next to his name. But everything else, including his current form, which is kind of like trending upwards, looks really good.
It's not a terrible spot for Zach Johnson. And there's a couple reasons why. First of all, he just plays tough courses well.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just a guy who scrambles well. He's not someone I'd really want to back in a birdie fest most years, although he has won the John Deere like 5 times.
But like even when I throw back to that, like just sorting by the last 50 rounds on difficult courses over 7,400 yards, Reed rates out pretty well. Zach Johnson rates out even better tee to green. Yeah,
I mean it's not shocking for me to hear. He just manages golf courses well, and that's kind of what playing tough golf courses is about, right? So I think 7,900 is actually it's an okay price. I mean, it's not. I would have liked like 77 or 75 on Zach Johnson. Then he would have been a little more interesting. I mean, you're not backing Zach Johnson because you think he's going to win the tournament. Like you're not using him on DraftKings, but you are using him because it's a tough week. There's not going to be a ton of birdies out there anyways. And if he gets you a top 20 at 7,900 or a top 15, which he's fully capable of doing, he's going to pay off. And also if some of these other chalk guys bust in this range, I mean, and Zach Johnson finishes T15, you're looking really sweet. So I between him and JB Holmes, I mean, Holmes is the sexier pick for sure. Zach Johnson's definitely a way higher chance of making the cut and probably a higher chance of top 20 this week. Although Holmes probably a better chance of top 5ing if that any of that makes any sense to anyone.
No, I think what you're trying if JB has it going for the 4 rounds that he could win this event. Like with Zach Johnson, you're looking for like T9.
Yeah.
So maybe one's a cash play, one's a GPP play, but everyone's a good GPP play this week if they make the cut. So I think that Zach Johnson probably makes the cut. So maybe I'll have to add him. 7,400 to 7,000. You got, like I mentioned, Wyndham Clark is someone who just absolutely crushes it off the tee. And he's not bad around the greens. The rest of his game kind of sucks, but is that good enough here?
I think so. I mean, Clark has played well in spots where you didn't really expect him to play well too. Like he played well at the Honda Classic. How much is Wyndham Clark? I can't find him. Oh yeah, 7,400. So
he's made every cut since the Sony Open.
Look, he was a really highly touted player, and on the web.com, I mean, he probably should have won a couple events, but he struggled in the final round. But again, you're not talking about using Wyndham Clark for him to win the tournament. It'd be nice if he did, but at 7,400, I mean, if he comes out and plays well and he just gets in the top 10, or even if he struggles on the final day and ends up like T18, you're laughing at 7,400. He also is a player who can make birdies on some of these tough holes because of his distance and short game. So no, Wyndham Clark definitely. I mean, we talked about Sam Burns, but I feel kind of the same way about Wyndham Clark. I mean, I think he's a really good target for this event. The experience factor is something to scare you a little bit, but I think with how talented he is, you just go with him this week at this price. Neiman is interesting too, but
that's so dicey.
I mean, he couldn't even win his home event like in Chile or whatever his last start. So I guess that's kind of a red flag. He did finish like 3rd, but maybe that's a confidence booster. I don't know. It should be a good spot. The only reason I bring him up, it kind of should be a good spot for him, but yeah, GPP only.
If like the prototypical player that we're talking about is Cameron Champ, by the way.
That would be the prototypical player if Cameron Champ was playing well, I guess. I mean, I don't even like. He's still
undercursed, as Paul pointed out. That I watched the Cameron Champ win when Cuss was up visiting me one time, and he watched the final like 5 holes of Cameron Champ play during his win. He's like, "This guy is fantastic. I think he's going to win again." And like since he's been absolute garbage.
It really is strange how garbage he's been. I mean, like I was just making sure that he hadn't made a cut in like the last 2 months, and I was right.
And then he got hurt.
Right. Yeah. I don't even know what the injury was, but I know he pulled out the players or whatever. So, I mean, I'm not going to use Cameron Champ. No, I mean, I'm just waiting. I mean, he'll turn it around eventually. It might be the end of the year or something, but I don't know. I've absolutely no interest in Cameron Champ right now. I wasn't even going to bring him up. He is the prototypical player. You're right. I could just scream it off the tee, and when the putter gets hot, he'll play well here. But that's not him right now because he's not playing well in pretty much any facet.
So I guess for me in this low range, I have interest in Wyndham Clark, Sam Burns, like I mentioned. He has the driving distance. He's great off the tee, putts really well on Bermuda. He's sort of like a mini Keith Mitchell in that sense. And the other one's just Danny Lee. Danny Lee is, you never know what you're going to get from Danny Lee. Is this the one of the 4 tournaments a year? He's just absolute hot fire? Maybe. Who knows? But he rates out very, I don't want to say he's mediocre, but he's very high up in driving distance. He's like 31st in the field. He's good at approaches from beyond 175 yards. He's like 34th around there. And once we start talking about players in this range, like not everyone's going to be Rory, who's just won across the board and everything because they're great. Now we're talking about Danny Lee, who could be +9, but does have the potential to be one of those guys that goes super low at difficult courses.
So I mentioned off the top of the show, I was going to throw out some names here that just sound terrible at first, but they might actually make some sense in this, especially in the weaker field. Danny Lee is definitely one of those guys. He tends to get on these rolls like in the spring and summer too, where he goes on like a run of top 20s for like 5 weeks. And I feel like he's kind of getting into that form right now. Hasn't played poorly at some of these tougher venues in the past either. So yeah, I mean, the possibility of Danny Lee shooting like 280s is definitely out there, but I feel like he's getting in that form where he's going to go on this run, make his money for the year, and be done with it. And I think at 7,300 in this field, in this kind of event, this is where you take a shot with Danny Lee. Other guy I'm going to throw out there is Cameron Tringali. You mentioned him. I think it was in the par 4s too. The shorter par 4s being pretty efficient.
He showed up in the par 4s and he showed up on difficult courses.
Yeah, and he plays difficult courses well, coming off a T5 at the team event. He's upped his driving distance. Like I think he's averaging over 300 yards off the tee. He's been positive off the tee, which for him has been a struggle. I think he was 6th or 8th in approaches at the Valero, his last solo start. He's played pretty well. He's making cuts. Yeah, I mean, 7K, again, just a guy who popped out. I think he was T27 here last year as well. So he actually played the tough course here last year. He's a guy who's got to get his tour card. He's got a lot of motivation. His game just seems to be rounding into form. Anyways, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I definitely don't mind taking a shot with him this week at 7K.
Yeah, he's made the cut here 3 consecutive years. He didn't play in the PGA Championship. The one miscut he has at the Wells Fargo is when it was at Eagle Point in 2017. So that's probably not good course history for Eagle Point. Don't really care about that this week. So he's 3 of 3 in his past 3 starts here. So yeah, he is somewhat interesting. I like Bud Colley just because he can scramble. That's basically it.
Yeah. But I mean, that's definitely he can get it out there a little bit. Probably gonna I think another guy who popped up on your par 4 metrics. That's actually a really good idea. I think it's a good thing to look at this week.
Yeah, he's 5th in those drivable par 4s. Tringali is 9th over the past 36 rounds. Now, it's probably best to look at that at a larger sample, I'm guessing, because there are so few of those holes. So maybe I should try to do that. Let's put that out a bit. Let's go past 100 rounds for that and see what pops up. Because the other guy who's down there who actually finished well at this venue last year, long off the tee, good around the greens, plays better on Bermuda. I never play him because I just don't see what other people see, but Peter Uihlein is kind of interesting and he's cheap. Like, we have to make some concrete decisions about these guys down here because we'll have to play some of these guys.
Yeah, no, and I mean that's why we're bringing up guys like Tringali and Colley, because you're going to have to use some of them, right? Like, I mean, you want some exposure to multiple top players. You got to fit some of these.
Oh my God, Tringali gets even better when we sort by past 100 rounds.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. So if we go past 100 rounds, and I don't know what the actual sample of holes from this range are going to be, but it's Casey, Day, Hideki, Fowler, Phil, Tringali, List, Vaughn Taylor, Nasty Nate Lashley, Justin Rose, then JT Poston, your boy, and then Streb again. Streb just plays short par 4s really well, apparently.
Yeah,
and Bud Colley is in there as well.
Yeah, Streb has a really good record here. I'm not saying you should play Streb this week, but like he does have a really good record at this event. He's only 6,800. Yeah, he's just been awful though. Oh my God.
I feel like he had a moment at like Sony Open this year where I was like, oh my God, Robert Streb, he's back.
Well, he won like a web.com playoff event, and then he played well for a couple of weeks, and then he's just been terrible since like February. So I don't know. I mean, great course history. He definitely fits that par 4 metric, I guess. But I just pay up for Tringali, who's played better and definitely rates out similarly. So
The way that
yeah.
I'm digging more into Wyndham Clark. I just have his profile open on Fantasy National right now. He doesn't really ever gain strokes on approach, which if there's a course where you're going to need to gain strokes on approach, like finish highly here. But he always gains strokes off the tee. He always gains strokes around the green, except for at Heritage, where he was just kind of a disaster. But he had one really, really, really bad round, and I think that affected everything because he still made the cut. He's made every cut since the Sony Open: 18th, 35th, 60th, 10th, 7th, 37th, 20th, 54th. I think I'm in. I think I'm in just to play him.
No, I definitely think Wyndham Clark. I mean, look, if you want some synergy too, I mean, he was the guy who followed Aaron Wise at Oregon from college golf and was like the stud there right after Aaron Wise left. So, I mean, I don't know. That probably has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about this week, but it's similar type of player to Aaron Wise. He really is. He bombs it off the tee. He's got a lot of talent around the greens, and he's shown it. I mean, I've been surprised at how quickly he's sort of shown up on leaderboards this year because, like I said, he did struggle down the stretch sometimes in the web.com, but he's just popped up. I mean, it's just a talented player. So I think at 7,400, he's actually one of the best, just pure upside values down there under 7,500 in a week where there really isn't that much to love. So
HV3, 7K, local guy, got the distance.
He's just been. I'm not going to touch that. He is a local guy, and he's kind of like Poston and Webb Simpson and Streb. He just shows up here every year sometimes, but I'm not going to go there. He's just. You can kind of see it coming with HV3. Usually he's kind of like Danny Lee, gets in these runs, and I just don't think he's got it right now. So I'll stay away.
Yeah, I mean, he was 23rd at Valero. He missed the cut at Heritage, but that's just not going to be a course where I don't think he ever plays well. Maybe he's just a first-round leader bet. I'll make my decision on Harold Varner a little bit later on. 6K range, what do you got for me?
Oh, not much, Pat.
You got the bod, Hank Laboidia, or what the hell his name is?
Yeah, I mean, he's maybe one of the best of a bad bunch. I'm going to throw out another name that people are going to, kind of puke themselves over, but Harris English sets up pretty well for this venue. Again, sharper short game, good putter. He doesn't gain strokes off the tee very often, but he does get it out there. He's still big off the tee, and he has played these kind of venues well. I mean, he's made the cut. I think he was T16 here a few years ago. He's played well at a course like Valspar, Copperhead. Similar long par 71 again, Bermuda greens. So I think Harris English at 6,700. I would not be shocked if he popped up this week with like a top 25. Again, coming off a decent performance, not someone you should trust a whole lot. But again, we're talking about guys who you just never trust. So I think Harris English at 6,700, not the worst play this week.
Stuart Sink, maybe. He's been off.
Maybe.
He's been off.
I kind of like your boy, Uncle Seth.
Oh, Stuart Sink withdrew? Well, so don't play Stuart Sink. Good producer. You like Seb Straka?
Yeah, why not? I mean, he gets it out there. He's averaging like 306 off the tee. Good ball striker. I mean, he's at least made some cuts. He's been more consistent than pretty much 80% of the people in this range. I think it's a good spot for him, 6,500.
All right, so we'll go with some Straka. I'm going to sort by driving distance here and see who pops up. Lovelady is like the league min at 6K. He leads the field in driving distance. He's 12th from approaches from beyond 200 yards, but that's about it for him. He sucks at everything else.
Yeah, he did play well here last year, but he was kind of like trending last year. Like he was actually playing well a little bit. He's putting a little bit and scrambling. So, I mean, he's 6K, and I was going to bring him up just for the distance factor too, because he absolutely bombs it. But
is he playing on like the web tour or something like that? Because it's like he hasn't played. I assume he's been down there.
No, for sure. He's got conditional stat. I think he's in like the 150 to 125 range as far as like when he gets in, but I think he's been spending a lot of time on the web because some of these guys.
He's been great at the web. 3 consecutive missed cuts.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Some of these guys have been missing cuts on the web.com, right? So, look, Lovelady, he bombs it. He popped up here last year. I would not put a lot of trust on him. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh, hey, this guy bombs it. He's only 6K. Put him in. But, we're talking about the min price here, and there's not a whole lot other to talk about unless you want to play Smiley Kaufman for the bounce back or something. But
the bounce back from what, like 5 bad years?
Yeah, from 5 bad years. I mean, this is his bounce back.
The other guys from down there that are like kind of interesting, Harkins is down there, but he's so middling and stuff can go wrong for him in such a hurry. And the approaches just haven't been good. Martin Traynor won Puerto Rico. He gets it out there.
Yeah, how much is Martin Trainer this week?
I believe he's 6,400.
Okay, yeah.
66.
I mean,
Like Cameron Davis is 64. He's ninth in driving distance. Brandon Hagee, who's missed like 17 of his past. I don't know if that's true. He's missed his past 4 cuts. He has not been playing
a
well.
lot of cuts.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
65. Like it's tough.
These are guys I want to back at this course, like Hagee, like you said. I mean, he just screams it off the T2. But I think the main thing is like I'm not going to go past 6,500. Like I don't mind Straka. There's not even really anyone else I like at 6,500. I mean, Von Taylor kind of interesting for sure. I think you brought him up again with that par 4 metric. He's played well here a couple of years. And then you go up to like, the Trainer, Harris English, kind of interesting, but that's about it. I mean, I'm not going to dip below 6,500 at all. So
how about this? How about Alvaro Ortiz making his first like professional start since the Masters?
Oh, that's who that is.
Yeah, because Carlos Ortiz has a good like Riviera track record. And
right.
I was actually considering him as well, but maybe Alvaro is the good Ortiz.
Forgot about Alvaro.
Maybe Carlos Ortiz is the Eduardo Molinari of the sibling pairing.
I mean, look, if you're taking a chance under 6,400, I do not have a problem going with him over these other guys because these other guys all are brutal right now. So and Ortiz, obviously some talent, almost won low amateur. I think he missed it by a stroke, T36 at the Masters. Why not? I mean, it's perfectly fine. We see these young guys come on tour and try and make a run, and they often come in with like, a run of top 25 or something before they burn out. But yeah, I could see it. I don't mind Ortiz at 6,200. If you're going to go dip down there, like I said, I don't think you should, but if you're going to, why not?
T36 at the Masters. I mean, do you just bank on talent? Like maybe he's actually really good and we just don't know it yet.
Well, I mean, he's got nothing to lose at this point, right? He's just coming in. I mean, if he makes a couple cuts, he keeps getting starts. He makes the top 10. It's amazing, right? So I like that. That's why I say sometimes we see these players come on with just conditional status and they just make a run. We saw with Neiman. I mean, when he did that, I mean, he started making top 10s, and we've seen it before with other players. So I don't mind it. I mean, it's a 1 week thing, and you shouldn't put him in like your core lineup or cash game on it. But again, if you're dipping down here for some GPP stuff for multiple lineups, I would take him over pretty much anyone under him because it's just no one's trending. And again, you're going with a talent guy who's just playing loose. So why not?
So he won the Latin American Amateur. He won 2 events in Mexico before that. I mean, his worst finish of the bunch recently is the Masters. So
there you go.
Let's do it. I'm adding him to the player pool because oh my God, Will McKenzie is playing. Good God.
When's the last time he played? Hasn't he been dropping out of tournaments? No, he played Puerto Rico and missed the cut.
Well, Moose said he met Roger Sloan. They did the Gups Corner Fantasy National like crossover. They brought the winner to one of these like Tiger courses. And, like Roger Sloan was apparently just there playing.
Oh yeah.
So maybe that's good vibes. He's missed 3 cuts in a row, but he had a nice little run for a while.
Yeah, he did. I actually almost won Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
I missed that.
Canadian Roger Sloan.
Yes, it's a lot of them apparently.
Okay, so here's another one for you. Seth Reeves. He's a lefty, and he absolutely crushes the ball.
Yeah, Reeves, he's a bit more expensive, isn't he?
He's like 6,300, sorry.
63. So, yeah, Seth Reeves, yeah, I mean, again, a player who's...
He has missed like he's missed 8 of 9 cuts, but he was 18th at Corrales, which is a long course.
I don't know. Again, I think I'd just rather go with Ortiz.
I'm going to say no. Yeah, I guess Ortiz. We're going to land on Ortiz and Straka. Those will be our guys.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, Straka for sure, because I just feel like he's been way more consistent. He's got a little bit more upside. But again, you're going down here. If you really have to, I would go with Ortiz for sure. I mean, I forgot about Chip McDaniel. Chip McDaniel won the qualifier by like 2 shots. So I mean, I think that's a good sign. I mean, I think 6,400. He can get a go. He's 5th at Corrales too.
What about local flavor Johnson Wagner, who has like a string of missed cuts at this event and a string of like top 20s at this event, and it's his home course.
I never played Johnson Wagner, so
I mean, we need to play some of these guys.
You could play Steve Scott, the guy who lost to Tiger in the U.S. Amateur like 30 years ago.
So Johnson Wagner, maybe we just have to play Streb or Shank or one of those guys.
Shank is fine. I mean, 6,700. I mean, probably. I don't know if I like him more than Harris English, but it's probably pretty close. I mean, he's definitely been more consistent than English.
I'll give him a preliminary star next to his name and see if I have to cut him from the player pool later. But he'll make the first round of cuts. I think you always got to make the first round of cuts.
Well, it's not hard to make the first round of cuts this week because there's not much to choose from. So
I'll say I'll say this just to trigger Paul. But what about everyone's favorite player, Julien Etienne?
Not a big hitter.
He's 64th in driving distance. Very good around the greens.
Oh, okay, he's a little bit longer than I thought. Then he is good around the greens. He's played well in spots. Maybe I shouldn't badmouth him. Why did he pull out of Valero?
Who knows? Because he sucks. He's been back since, I feel like. Jules.
I don't know if he has actually.
I believe he played last week.
Oh, did he? Okay.
I think so. I mean, I could be completely wrong on that. I wasn't really following it all that closely, but yeah, Hama, Saunders. Good God. This is not good down here, man.
No, I told people off the start, like, we're going to be throwing out names you don't want to hear. Yeah, Edelon did play last week. He was T32 with, who did he play with?
Someone terrible, I assume, just like himself?
Oh, no, Andres Romero. They're both from Argentina, so.
I can't imagine Andres Romero has much left in the tank at this point.
No.
I mean, I remember.
I don't mind that play, actually. Yeah, Etulian.
Etienne. Let's just say he's from France and just pronounce his name that way.
I like that. That's much easier.
That's much easier. So Ortiz, the good Ortiz, is where we're going?
Yeah. What about the bad Ortiz? I mean, he's got distance.
Yeah, so I think I'm just going to go Straka, good Ortiz, and that's where we'll settle on. For me, at least. And then I'll make my decision. People can check out the cheat sheet on DK Playbook after the fact. What do you got up on DK Playbook right now?
Oh, just the usual, the PJ cheat sheets up there. Obviously, if you want to read more about Cameron Tringali, I got a little profile on him, Gary Woodland, and a bunch of other stuff in the article every week. So, yeah.
I'll play this guy too, Jim Konos. Only because whenever I search for first round leaders, like the day of, at some point during round one, Konos will make 4 birdies in a row. I think he then makes 20 bogeys in a row, but he's around. He lingers.
T55 will be a good spot this week for a guy like that. So
he hits it big off the tee, not bad with approaches. Dude cannot putt, but hey, if we're gonna play Ben Ann and Luke List, might as well vote for Konos while you're down here.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of bad putters on my team this week. So
team putt. Team putting doesn't matter.
Yeah,
led by Paul Casey.
Put to the test this week for sure. I think with a lot of people. So be interested.
Geoff Ulrich. If you, Geoff Ulrich, or the viewers out there want to get into a draw for 20 DK bucks, smash the like button to the episode, leave your DraftKings handle, and tell me the 2 guys you're going to play from below $7,000. You just heard Jeff and I talking about it. It's not pretty when it gets down there.
Yeah, DM me the people you want to play too, so I have some ideas.
If it is me casting my vote, I'll say the good Ortiz and Seb Straka. Those will be my 2 guys.
I'm going to go with Harris English, and I'll go Julien Etienne as well. I like that play.
Okay, so you're just another robot of the DFS golf community who's just playing this loser who sucks every week.
Pretty much, yeah.
Where can people follow you?
At the Fantasy Grind on Twitter, and like you said, on the DK Playbook, PJ cheat sheet up every week.
Do you like Harris English? Oh, I thought Harris English went bald. Never mind. I was going to say you guys shared the same haircut, but maybe he wears a toupee. I don't know.
I wish I shared the same haircut. I think he's got a full head.
He has I mean, I'm looking at year by year. It does kind of look like he wears a toupee. I'm not going to lie to you.
Okay. Oh.
I'm looking at his stock profile picture right now, and he looks like a bald guy with a really bad piece.
Now, we all know that the person I trend after is Bill Haas. So
Bill Haas and Stuart Sink. Those are your guys. Have you ever had one of those weird tan lines like Stuart Sink has?
No, but that's because there's no sun everywhere I live. So
is it still snowing there?
It is. It actually snowed this morning, Pat. It's pathetic.
Well, that sounds like a great deal of fun. More fun than living in a place where it's still snowing is joining the Pat Mayo Experience DraftKings Open Listener League. The link is in the description and comment section of this video and podcast. Become a Fantasy National member today. Get yourself ready. There's $1 million top prize coming up on DraftKings. You might want to use Fantasy National to try to make yourself better at that. We know Drew Matthews, Fantasy National member, won the Masters Millionaire Maker last year. Almost close to $1 million worth of DraftKings winning so far this year too. So members are doing well. Not me so much, other members. So, don't listen to what I say. Just use it yourself and maybe you'll do better. I don't know. Anyway, I'm Pat Mayo. Enjoy the Wells Fargo Championship. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!